Howdy. What episode are we on here? You guys want to do... We could go back and do a repeat episode. How about a low ink preview? Yeah, let's preview the low ink. What is this? The Splat-A-Lot A You May Stars low ink. Let's preview that one again. We can do that. That's what's so cool. So if you don't know, I got this. So all the Popcast episodes, I just write in here. Which is nice if I need to go back and reference something, I can just flip back through this book and find it. All Popcast related stuff in one book. There's no spreadsheet, there's nothing really more magical than that. That's all there is to it. For that to be in the Splatoon Hall of Fame, I can get a copy of it. Now, this is like, I think the first episode I did with this was, I think 118? Yeah, episode 118 starts in this. But episode 1 through 118 is all right here. Let's see here. Oh, let's talk about that was kind of boring. Let's see. What is this one? Oh, this one's from earlier this year. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, While you are adding people to your really weird Twitter lists, coming up with a new weapon kit without including Burst Bomb in it, claiming that E-Leader players are talentless. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Hey, look, I am, as those of you know, because I know you guys know me, I am, it's not that I'm not tech savvy, it's that I'm just about 5 or 6 steps behind everybody when it comes to tech stuff. I don't get this Twitter thing, and I think I think you guys are kind of overblowing it. I feel like this is a Chicken Little skies falling kind of thing, and everybody's just it's incredible how one person's like, we need to make lists, and then the entire competitive Splatoon community just goes off into panic. We got to make lists, or else we're never going to see everybody's tweets ever again. It's like, I don't think that's how it's going to work. But feel free to, if I'm totally off about that, so be it. I'm not going to make a list because I like the tweets you guys make, unless I don't. But to everyone who put me in a list, okay, cool. I hope you get what you want out of that thing. But I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think the sky is falling just because some crazy billionaire has bought out Twitter. News of tournaments may be of interest to the casual listener of the Popcast. Little Squid League number 25 is this upcoming weekend. Make sure you sign up for it and play in it or watch it if you are banned from it. You got nothing else to do this weekend. Look, I know you guys. You are not doing anything else this weekend. Make sure you sign up and play in that. There's probably like 50 other tournaments going on this weekend as well. I know just Proving Grounds going on Friday, and I got to put it up on the Sindao calendar. But I'm just curious how many tournaments are going on Saturday alone. There's one at 3 a.m. I'm assuming that's an Australian tournament on Saturday. New Wave at 12. Little Squid League at 1. Splatoony Season 1 Week 4. The 4th week of Splatoony. That's at 3 o'clock. And at 4 o'clock, the Inking, the Splat Warrior Cup. It's in a qualifier. What? I don't even understand half the things that are read out right there. We're officially endorsing Little Squid League 25 because we like Little Squid League around here. And so there you go. I don't know much about those other stuff. Hey, that might be the topic of today, though. Maybe we do need to start paying attention to some of those other tournaments. Next weekend is Low Ink Week. So yes, go ahead and sign up for Low Ink if you haven't already. Make sure you get your splash tags in there. I know Little Squid League is requiring splash tags as well. That's awesome for us because that means that now that more tournaments are on board with that, it makes it a lot easier for us to just assume you guys have already used splash tags. You don't have to change anything. You just sign up the team as it is. It works out perfectly. Why are we doing splash tags? It's just a lot easier to verify who you guys are. People, believe it or not, there are people who like to smurf and slip into skill cap tournaments. When you have your splash tag right there, it's a lot easier to look up who you are and verify that you are who you say you are. So make sure you do that. Today, we are going to be taking a look at a tournament you probably didn't recognize was a thing until I'm talking about it right now, but you need to pay attention to what went on yesterday. Under Pressure, it was a massive tournament. And, well, to be quite honest, even though I was talking to somebody about it, I didn't really recognize it was a thing until it was already going on. So there's some cool stuff going on with that Under Pressure tournament. You'll want to stick around and listen to that segment. But first, LUTI's back and you're gonna be in trouble. Hey now, my LUTI's back. At least I'm pretty sure LUTI is back. I muted at here and at everyone in the LUTI server because if you don't, you're going to get pinged 100 times a day. And because of that, you don't get pinged when there is an at everyone message you actually care about. So I did look in the actual announcement channel, and I'll just double check to make sure it hasn't been officially announced when signups are. But the announcement from friend of the show, Immel, in the newsfeed channel says that LUTI is going to be coming back for Splatoon 3. Gather your teams because Season 13 cycle will start this November. Last I checked, we are in November the 7th as of right now. There's going to be a seeding tournament on Sunday. That is this upcoming Sunday, which is going to be I believe it's going to be a ladder because speed ladder format. Hosted by Inkademy, which I cannot believe Inkademy is still a thing. Wasn't that the whole point of what that Splatoon Stronghold thing was, because Inkademy didn't exist? So Splatoon Stronghold was like, well, I'll just move right on in and take this spot that you're not occupied. I guess they're back and running a tournament their own. So be it. The last time we did anything Inkademy related, it was always those speed ladder tournaments. And the only reason you could do a speed ladder is if you're doing it in this kind of scenario where you're just giving teams as much time to get as many results as they can. Who cares if you actually win the tournament or not? It's just more so giving you as many opportunities as possible to get as many results as you can. So that's a cool thing. Now, usually, the first segment I do at the beginning of every LUTI season is just me scolding you idiots for still using divs as far as justifying how good you are, what type of scrim you're looking for, whether or not you're banned from tournaments, skill cap tournaments. Divs are the dumbest things to use as a ranking system. And if you are somebody who has in your Twitter bio right now a div estimate, I want you to know that I think you are a moron. Straight up. Because you probably are. You can't estimate a div. And I've gone several segments talking about how estimating something like that is not something you can do and is stupid to do. However, I can't just sit here being an old man, get off my lawn over and over again. That's not what this segment is going to be. Instead, we're going to mix things up a little bit. Let's take a completely different approach here. Instead of me telling you guys why your div estimates are dumb, I'm going to give you a little secret. Something Immel doesn't want you to know about. How that fake div that you have in your bio, how you can make it true, how you can get the div that you actually claim that you are, even if you're not technically there yet. That's right. The secrets of everything you need to know about getting your div is going to be spilled right here, right now on the podcast, just for you idiots in chat to hear. Don't tell anybody else. This is a secret thing. All right. Don't spread the word out too much. Because if everybody knows about it, then it's not a secret anymore. Actually, just keep me on a Twitter list, and only the people on your Twitter list can hear about it. How about that? Before we can get into the how you can get the LUTI div that you claim that you are, let's first explain what the process of LUTI is. Because LUTI is not a ranking system, believe it or not. If you've joined the scene within the past year, you probably think LUTI is just a giant way to rank every single team in the community. That is not the case. LUTI divs are just seeding for the LUTI tournament only. That's it. If you sign up for LUTI, you get seeded in that tournament. If you don't sign up for LUTI, you don't get seeded in that tournament. That's it. However, since a lot of people sign up for LUTI, and I would assume this one is going to break records upon records of how many people will be signing up for this upcoming LUTI season, you get so many teams, it is kind of understandable that you would think, okay, when we got the vast majority of the teams signing up for this, we can start tiering ourselves based off of the seed that you get in this tournament, even though the seeds become obsolete the next day after they come out because everybody's changed since then, right? However, when it's just when it's not a ranking system and it's just seeding for the tournament, You got to keep this in mind. You can only get seeded against the other teams that sign up for this tournament. That's it. You can only be compared to everybody else that signs up. If a team doesn't sign up, you can't be compared against them. And that's, well, if you want the div that you claim that you are. I'm exploding, getting excited talking about this segment. Excuse me. If you want the div that you're going to get, you don't want other teams to sign up for this tournament. And that's why it's so frustrating how Div X played out last season. 24 teams get put into a div outside of Div X. And there's been a lot of times where somebody's like, let's say you're a Div 6 caliber team and you get put in Div 7. And then you go on Twitter and you're like, how come I got put in Div 7? I should be in Div 6. Well, here's the situation. Let's say Starburst doesn't sign up for this upcoming LUTI season. They're the team at the very top, right? If you take Starburst off the top, guess what? Everybody gets pushed up one slot. So if you were the number 1 seed in Div 7, now all of a sudden you're up in Div 6. What have you done to accomplish that? Nothing. You literally did nothing to go up from 7 to 6. The only thing that happened is one of the teams at the top doesn't sign up. However, on the flip side, let's say Starburst does sign up and FT Win pickup, which I guess we can't say anymore, a Keo pickup signs up. Alliance Rogue comes in. The Kings make some sort of team. Oro Jackson, like all these big dogs to sign up and they populate Div X. Well, guess what? We got to make room for them. So everybody from Div 1 all the way to Div 9 gets bumped down one slot for each one of those teams. Again, you've done absolutely nothing to affect any of that, but because those specific teams signed up, you are getting moved down a slot, and if it's a slot that knocks you out of a div, so be it. Congratulations. That's why, one of the many reasons why using a div as a ranking system makes no sense. Because it's all relative based on who actually signs up for the tournament. And that's why it's so frustrating with Div X last season, how you had 12 teams and the vast majority of them just didn't give a flying flip about the actual tournament. I've talked about this at length. Last season, the team that finished in second place of Div X only beat one team the entire season. They beat one team in their group stage, and they beat that same team in the knockout stage, the double M knockout stage. How did they end up in second place? Because every other team they played either beat them or dropped, and enough teams dropped in losers bracket that team went all the way up to grand finals to win the grand prize of getting 5-0'd by Starburst to cap off the end of the LUTI season that lasted from November until the end of March. Oh, if all those Div X teams didn't play last season because it's clear they didn't give a damn, just don't sign up and we can bump everybody up and make the divs a little bit more competitive. But because they show up and they can say that they're Div X, even though they're all like +1, maybe like very high end of +2 anyways, like that's clearly what you care about is the plus servers. Why do you care to sign up just to get an X next to your name if you're not going to play the doggone tournament? My point being, it's all relative based on the teams that sign up, whether they actually care about playing out the LUTI season or not. So now that we got that out of the way, the question is, how do you get that div that you want? First off, you need, and this is the most important one probably, when you sign up your team for LUTI, you need to actually pay attention to the form that you're filling out. There is a question on there that basically says, tell us about your team. Give us any information that we can look at. Here's how you fill out that question. Or here's how you answer that question, because a lot of you really struggled with doing this last season. Put down what results that you have. Now, results can be kind of misleading. I think it's better to include the matches, the actual matches, the teams you've actually beat in what tournaments and what settings, instead of just putting down placements. If I put down that I finished, let's just use this as a random example, second place in Div X, that's pretty impressive without context. Same thing with any other tournament. Hey, I finished in 5th place in this double elimination bracket. Oh, cool. That wouldn't have anything to do with the fact that the seeding was a little messed up and you dodged a lot of strong teams, and then you got 3-0'd by the teams that didn't do that well, but because of seedings and drops and all that, you landed up in the 5th place spot. Does that mean you're the 5th best team in that entire tournament? No, but if you try to trick people into saying, hey, we finished in the top 5, it makes you think, oh, wow, you're the 5th best team in that tournament. Meanwhile, somebody who finished probably 9th or 10th might have had a lot better results, beats a lot better teams than what you did. So this way, placements are a little bit misleading. It's better to just put down, we beat this team in this best of 5 or this best of 3 in this tournament, and here's all the other teams that we've beaten consistently. That helps you out a lot more. Placements hide information is the point I'm getting at here. Personally, because I've seen this question brought up on Twitter, do you care about losses? Like, can you have an impressive loss when it comes to putting down information about yourself? In my opinion, and other people might disagree with me, in my opinion, in a best of 3, I don't think there is such a thing as an impressive loss. If you take one game off of a team, I don't know anything about that. I don't know if you cheese them in a Rainmaker game, if you flat out dominated them, if they had a DC, if somebody on their team's controller just broke down. I don't know what that one game means. And I'm not going to sit here and look through all that stuff. But if you put down in a result, oh, we lost to this team in a 1-2 result, in my opinion, that's nothing. There's nothing. It's just one game that you took off of them. I don't think that's anything worthy of being they took one game off of this mid-level team, we got to bump them up a div. No, I don't think anybody cares. Now, in a best of 5, if you take a team to a game 5, you lose, but you take 2 games off of them in the best of 5. That holds a little bit more weight. Not as much weight as actually winning that game 5 and winning 3-2, but a 2-3, in my opinion, is something a little bit more substantial that you can look at. Now, at the end of the day, a loss is a loss. And we like winners. We like winners here on the Popcast. We talk about winners a lot. Nobody likes talking about losers. But if you want to pretty up your resume a little bit, slipping in a best of 5 set that you lost going to a game 5 against a quality opponent is enough to make at least me go, And this is better than nothing. If you don't have results, though, let's say you are a brand new team to competitive or you are a pickup team. The best thing you can do is put down something. Put down something. If you're a pickup, put down your individual player's results. This player is in +3. My other teammate beat this team in this kind of setting. Anything. To put down anything about each individual player on your pickup. That helps you a lot. If you're a pickup and you don't put down anything, it's just a total roll of the dice if somebody on the seating council recognizes you or not. And some of you got really lucky that Roundy caught you at the very end of LUTI seating last season and saved you from being stuck in Div 9 and instead got bumped up to Div 4. I caught one team as well, but there were a couple of teams that were pickups that didn't tell us anything about them and just expected us to recognize who their mid-levelness mystique and all their 50 Twitter followers were supposed to recognize who these guys were, and we didn't. Guess what? They ended up in Div 9 or maybe Div 8. But if you are a brand new team and you don't have any results, prove that you at least own the game. Like put down, like we've done a scrim. Here's my solo queue rank, like something. Like, just say that you've at least fired up the game at some point and you at least own weapons in it. That could be the difference between being stuck in Div 9, which is just a total roll of the dice how that works, or Div 8, where we at least think we got a good idea of who's actually in Div 8. So putting down something always helps you out. And putting down absolutely nothing, that is how you guarantee yourself in Div 9. Do not expect people in the seeding council to do research on you. No. There's not enough time in the day for that. And there's not a lot on the line for the seeding council to actually care enough to do that. You give information to them. That's the best thing that you can do. Case in point, Makashera. And this is an example of if you're going to change your team name right before LUTI starts, make sure you play in some tournaments with that team name. Rising Stars finished in second place in Low Ink. Did some pretty good stuff in some tournaments outside of it as well. Changed their names to Makashera right before the LUTI season. Had no idea who they were. They got stuck in Div 9, and I got people DMing me. How come I'm in Div 9 when I got this and this and this? And I'm saying, who the hell are you? Oh, I know who you are now. Why didn't you say something in the LUTI form? Don't leave that question blank. Help people out by actually filling out that question. Now, how do you get results? This might seem like a pretty dumb question, but we're going to answer it anyways. How do I go out and get results? The answer may surprise you, and some people in +3 might not understand this concept, but you have to actually go out and play in tournaments. Don't tell us who you beat in a scrim, what your draft things are. I mean, yeah, that's better than nothing. But go out and actually play in some tournaments and get you some results. That's how you get those Div 2, those Div 1 kind of categories, by getting actual tournament results. And there's so many options out there. There's no excuse not to play in a tournament between now and whenever the next LUTI tournament registration actually ends and the divs come out. And by the way, even after registration ends, up until divs come out, the seeding council is still looking at you. Like if the seeds come out on a Saturday and there is a tournament Saturday morning, I guarantee you the seeding council is sitting there watching that tournament, and some things can change based on how that tournament goes. So playing in tournaments is great. And what you should be trying to do is get recent results. Look, if you beat Cherry Limeade 6 months ago, that was impressive 6 months ago. It doesn't hold the same weight as beating Cherry Limeade today. If you did something 6 months ago and that's all you have to say for your name, okay, congratulations. It's not going to hold more weight than somebody who's going out and doing things today. What have you done for me lately? Recency bias is 100% a thing, and it should be a thing. Play in tournaments now. You can't just cling to the past of what you used to do. No, go out and get some fresh stuff. Because the teams that do get fresh stuff, in my opinion, should be seated higher than teams that are just sitting on their butts, just soaking up and reflecting on the old days like they're stuck in the high school mindset or something like that. That is basically all you need to do. Just go play in some tournaments. It's not that hard. And again, there's 5 tournaments this Saturday. There's a seeding tournament on Sunday. And here's the thing. If you are a low ink team, let's get into this topic. If you are somebody who claims that you are above a low ink skill level, and the only thing you've done is low ink, Minnow Cup, and Little Squid League, I got news for you. You're going to get a low ink type of div. You can't just farm your way out of low ink doing nothing but playing in low ink skill level tournaments. That's not how that works. You got to play in open tournaments and go get some credible results, which is going to lead to a bit of a hard hitting point that I'm going to make here for some of you. And this is going to be a difficult one for some of you to hear, but I'd rather you hear it now than when you find out what your actual div is going to be. Let's do the math here. if Div 5 is the official cutoff for tournaments that are skill capped, most tournaments that are skill capped, that means everyone in Div X to Div 4 are banned from those tournaments. Let's do the math here. There's 24 teams in Div 1 through Div 1 through Div 4, and there's 12 teams in Div X. So that is a grand total of 108 teams that are banned from low-level tournaments based off their LUTI div. I don't know the answer to this question, but do you guys think that there are only 108 teams that are banned from low-level tournaments? That's it. Just 108 teams. Nothing more than that. I'm willing to bet no, there's not. So you know what that means? Somebody, and I'm predicting multiple somebodies who have been banned from low ink and have straight up one low ink, are still going to land in Div 5 this past season. It's 100% going to happen. You know why? Because you guys don't go out in other tournaments and get quality results, or you just flat out don't do anything. Because of that, you don't get this spot guaranteed for you in Div 4 just because you won a low ink 5 months ago. That's not how that works. And that's why I've always found it so cringe when somebody wins low ink and they immediately just change their Twitter bio to say, I'm Div 4 now. No, that's not how that works. Mathematically, that makes no sense. You got to go out and prove it. If the only result you have is what you've done in low ink, you're going to get a low ink div. It's going to happen. There's not a lot of room. You got to be able to show that you got a little bit something extra if you want to make it up to Div 4. And some of you people are claiming how strong you are at Div 3. I'm sitting here thinking like, man, it's going to be hard to justify you getting into Div 4 when you've done nothing outside of low-level stuff. So you got to play in open events. You need to impress with open events, open tournament results. And also, a good thing to do if you don't want a Div 5 or below div, here's a really good tip. Don't go and ask in the low ink help desk if you're eligible for low ink. If you want to become a mid-level player, you need to think like a mid-level player, which means it's only a matter of time before you guys start tweeting out cringe things about and subtweeting your scrims like anybody cares about what happens in scrims. Guys, why are we complaining about what an E-leader did in a practice match? A practice match. Why are you guys upset about what happens in practice? Shouldn't you want to get crushed in practice so you learn what you need to improve on for the actual tournament? We're talking about practice, guys. Welcome to being mid-level. That's how you get out of low ink. You just start tweeting out those stupid kind of thoughts that's going on there. But it's the same thing. Whenever somebody goes into the low ink help desk and they're like, hey, I'm eligible or I'm in being vouched for +3. Does that mean I'm banned from low ink? And I'm sitting here thinking, you do realize that you're trying to impress +3 voters. You know what they don't find impressive? You going to low ink and asking if you're still eligible for low ink. I don't think that wins you any kind of style points by doing that. So just if you want to be a Div 4 plus player, get it out of your mindset. Don't worry about low ink or minnow cup or any of that stuff anymore. Start playing in open tournaments and start proving that you belong where you say that you are. Whew. Here's my point, guys. This is your time to shine. There are so many tournaments going on right now. If you are who you say you are, a superstar, well, have no fear. The crowd is here, and the LUTI Seating Council is going to be watching you guys. I don't know who's on the LUTI Seating Council yet. I don't even think any applications have been sent out that you can submit for that. But the people who are going to be seating you guys, whoever they are, they're paying attention. You got to do something to impress them. You can't just sit on your butt and put in your bio that you are something. No. Talk is cheap. Talk is so cheap in this community, in this world, on this planet. Nobody, and this is my biggest frustration, is people who act like they've already arrived while their boat is still out in the ocean. Go dock your boat in some tournaments this upcoming weekend. Then you can start talking. But until then, you guys haven't done anything yet. But make sure you go out and play. So there's your tip. Fill out the application form to its fullest. Go out and play in tournaments. And if you do really good in tournaments, don't feel like you can't just go off and start bragging about it. There's nothing wrong. Look, there's nothing wrong with beating your chest with results that you got. And don't let anybody tell you that you're not allowed to tweet out that you're happy that you beat somebody until the tournament's over. I don't know why we're trying to gatekeep that now. Oh, nope. You can't be excited until the tournament's over. How dare you do that? What do you lose style points for being excited that you beat someone? Yeah, I get the mindset of finish out the tournament and finish things off. But if you lose to somebody, are you allowed to dictate how they celebrate it? No, you lost to them. If you don't like it, beat them. Feel free to brag about yourselves a little bit, but go out and do something worthy of being bragged about. And dock your boats. There, you haven't arrived yet. Somebody left a highlighted message, and hopefully it's not cringe. Tyester, do I get to play in low ink again if we get moved down? Actually, that's a fair question. And I can't sit here and answer that because I am one person that makes up the staff for LUTI. I'm not all of them, and I don't speak for everybody that's a part of low ink. I will say this though, in my opinion, my perspective, if you've won low ink and you get pushed down to Div 5, you're still banned. If you win low ink, you're banned forever, unless you won it back in 2019. I think that's when it started. I think it was April of 2019 is when we started that cutoff for that. But still, if you won low ink, you're banned forever. If you're somebody who's been banned from low ink and you get seeded Div 5, in my opinion, I don't want you in low ink. I'll straight up say that on the record. I don't want you in low ink. Now, if you pass the exemption and everything's a case-by-case basis, then so be it. But in my opinion, just getting put in Div 5 shouldn't be enough to just let somebody back in low ink. We made that mistake. We let Persistence in to one low ink after they got Div 5, and they damn near ripped that tournament apart until they pulled a Persistence and lost in Alpha Bracket. But I think we learned from that mistake and realize just because you get a div that's not really impressive because Starburst signed up and enough teams get pushed down, I don't think that's what the point of low ink is. The point of low ink isn't rehab for these players that haven't played the game, and we've made that mistake in the past. So my personal opinion to answer that question, which is a fair question to bring up, is no. If you are banned from low ink and you get put in Div 5, I don't think you should be automatically allowed back in. You should still have to put in an exemption and do some other stuff like that makes us think, okay, we screwed up banning you before, but it's just not the point of low ink. We made that mistake before, and I wouldn't want us to make that same mistake again. What I want us to do is get away from the fact of, oh, Div 5, you're in. Div 4, you're gone. And that makes us dependent upon an outside organization to determine who can and can't play in our tournaments. And the LUTI Seeding Council isn't seeding like that. They're not saying, oh, well, if we put this team in Div 4, that means they can't play in low ink. They don't care about low ink. They only care about their own tournament. So why should low ink care about that as well? That's why we're trying to change our rules somewhat to be like, yeah, we take this into consideration. Same thing with DSB. DSB came out with their new divs recently, and the team that we banned that was Div 1 went on to win SAC. So it's like, okay, that makes sense. Like, they're supposed to not be playing in low ink. DSB got it right. They're way above the skill level of low ink. But we shouldn't have to get to a point to where we're just knee-jerk reaction. Oh, you're 5, you're in, you're 4, you're out. And that's easier said than done, but a fair question to bring up. It's something that's on my mind, at least. And it's a good thing we don't have to worry about it this month. Even with registration not up for the most current LUTI season, the tournament's this Sunday, so low ink's this next weekend. So divs aren't going to be out for this LUTI, for this upcoming low ink anyway. So it'll be a bridge we have to cross when December comes around. we got some other stuff we got to look at. I can't sit here and talk about LUTI all day long. Before we get to this massive tournament we all missed, though, we got to look at some other tournaments that we didn't miss, which means it is now time for the weekly recap. SOS number 87 was won by I Don't Know, a Keo pickup for the most part. Rising Wave took second place, and Next Time took third. This was the first time SOS allowed 64 teams into their Wednesday night tournament, and it went just as fast as it always did. Top Cut got changed from best of 5 to best of 3s, with grand finals being a best of 5 instead of best of 7. Top Cut was 4 rounds instead of 3, but you just doubled the amount of groups and played on as normal. So they're able to crank out a 64-team tournament in the same amount of time it always takes them to run a tournament. Nicely done, SOS. And it still went over the cap. My goodness, you guys love you some Wednesday night tournaments. Hammerhead bracket was won by Strawberry Limeade. They misspelled berry, I believe. Mako bracket was won by Komodo. And the Lantern bracket was won by Marine Melody. Who played for this Marine Melody team? I looked at their roster. They had a Footman, I believe, from, I forget what pickup team they played for when they won Low Inc. But, like, did that player actually play? Or are these all legit Marine Melody players that have just been ripping people apart in tournaments as of late? So Marine Melody, they're either got some subs playing for them or their core roster has just turned into a monster overnight. We'll keep an eye on them. They've got some pretty impressive results as of late. Minnow Cup, the Rainmaker edition, the 17th Minnow Cup was won by Myopsitus, with Sia taking second place and Red Herring finishing in third. Sia's roster has gone over I believe a slight turnover. Surf and Turf got the better end of them in the Swiss stage, beating them 1-2 until Sia got eliminated by Myopsitus. I believe swept by Myopsitus in grand finals. Myopsitus complained all the live long day at the end of Low Inc. about groups into single elim, and then they went on to win Minnow Cup, which was Swiss into single elim. I guess they don't have an issue with Swiss, even though they do with groups. So be it whatever reason, Myopsitus flipped the switch after barely surviving the Swiss stage. So they were the number 8 seed out of Swiss, and only the top 8 moved on the Top Cut. And with a 3-2 record, their opponent win percentage was tied with the 9th place team. And I couldn't see the other tiebreaker on my phone. I'm just assuming their personal win percentage was higher. But they, by the skin of their teeth, even made it into Top Cut. And when they got in the Top Cut, they just beat up people left and right. So Myopsitus taking some frustration out on some people in that Minnow Cup tournament. Nicely done. Squid Junction number 32 was won by Tempest. Tanaksu finished in second place, and El Poro finished in third. Tanaksu went undefeated per game all the way through the winner's side into grand finals, and when they got into grand finals playing Tempest, a team they 3-0'd in winners finals, the set right before it, Tempest got the better end of them, beating them 6-1. A 3-0 bracket reset and then a 3-1 in the bracket reset. So that suggests maybe they were just kind of ran into some issues taking the break or something like that, or needed a sub. I don't know. Regardless, I don't want to take anything away from Tempest, because Tempest has been popping off as of late, and credit is due to them for how well they've been playing, coming off of a 20XX, coming back here to winning Squid Junction number 32. The College Cephalopod Association, I wrote down in my notes, and I've gotten spoiled to Mizuno emailing me some stuff to read out, and I forgot to do that this time around. So I don't have anything to update on the College Cephalopod Association, but we'll be keeping an eye on that, obviously, as their season comes to an end. I will say I did stream Drexel versus the College School of Mines, the Deep Sea Miners, and Drexel ended up winning that one 4-2, which would have secured their spot in that Div 2 group. So nicely done to Drexel there. Update from the National Football League. The Rams are still hungover from their Super Bowl, obviously. as they found ways to choke against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 16-13. The Kansas City Chiefs squeaked out an overtime win against the Titans 20-17. The Steelers did not lose a game this week. They had a bye. So I guess they didn't win either, but sometimes you can win by not playing at all. And that was your weekly recap, sponsored by Election Day. Hey, if you are in the United States of America, tomorrow is Election Day. Make sure, if you're eligible to vote, go out and vote. I've already voted. I voted early on Monday. Make sure you guys go out and do that. Voting is important. Don't just not vote because you think it doesn't count. No, go vote. And if you don't vote, don't tweet out anything about how you're upset about how the world is, because you had an opportunity right now to change something about it. As insignificant as it might feel to you, go out and vote anyways. The election, the official sponsor of today's episode of the Weekly Recap. Also, if you're interested in Squid School and Stratagem, the first person I've ever had on the Popcast is an interview when Jim Wonloink several over 2 years ago. We're going to have Jim on tentatively on the next episode of the Popcast. I had people in my suggestion channel say that they wanted to have Jim on the Popcast in an interview, and I said I've been wanting to do that as well. So we're going to try to make that happen next week. So Proving Grounds has a new streamer. Well, a new streamer to IPL in general. The new streamer, Elemental, after the Proving Grounds tournament, asked me about if I could help find some commentators for a tournament that they were running. And I was confused. I was like, what? Okay, tell me about this tournament that you're running here. They said it was just a free agent tournament with teams that are participating in a one. You could either sign up as a team or as a free agent, and it was just a one-day event, and they just needed commentators for it. In my mind, I was thinking, okay, so kind of like It's Dangerous to Go Alone. That thing usually gets, how many teams sign up for It's Dangerous to Go Alone? Like 30-ish teams, something like that. Maybe a little bit more, maybe less. I don't know. It's Dangerous to Go Alone, the first tournament I ever played in my life back in 2018. Probably gets about 16 or so teams, maybe. So a few weeks later, after Elemental was telling me about this tournament that I was assuming was a new and young tournament that wasn't going to get a lot of teams in it, I see Power tweeting out on Sunday, yesterday, about a tournament that was well over 100 teams signed up for it. And I'm like, what the hell is that? How is 100 plus teams signed up for any tournament, and I'm just finding out about it the day of? That makes no sense. And then I saw Elemental was tweeting about it as well, and I started to connect the dots, and I was just like, oh, okay. There's this massive 134 team tournament that just kind of showed up out of nowhere. How did this happen? How could you guys... I didn't know this was going on. Did any of you regulars in chat know this was going on? Maybe some of the people coming in from Squid School was aware that it was going on. Maybe some of you guys played in it. But all the competitive players that I know of are probably just looking at this and saying, what in the world? How did this happen? And how could you not? It had some classic teams like the Squibbly Squabblings, the Octo Fatherless. Oh, that's a classic team. The Dank Bros game, and of course, a classic team, Chicken Sandwich. I mean, those are all name brand teams we've all known to love, and I talk about constantly here on the podcast. So, I needed to look into what this tournament was. If this many teams are signing up for this tournament, this is something I should be talking about. because these are numbers that you don't see anywhere. If 134 teams, if this was a low ink tournament, this would have been the second biggest low ink of all time. It would have been bigger than that January one we had last year. It wouldn't be bigger than the low ink we had last month. But just as far as number of teams signing up for a tournament, this 134 is very significant. That is a massive tournament. So I did my research. I looked into this tournament. Now, it could have been real easy for me to just kind of DM Elemental and be like, hey, whoa, this is a monster you got going here on here. Tell me some more information about this tournament. But no, that's not how I go about things here on my journalism here on the Popcast. I'm trying to find this tournament the same way everyone else found about this tournament. How is it that I have completely missed this, but 134 teams did find it and were able to sign up for it? That is an issue with me, and I shouldn't have to be DMing people to find that information. It should be right there for me to find. So what was I missing? Well, I went on a sabbatical and I found that information. First off, before we get into that, last week I used the term mom and pop tournament because if you look on Battlefy, you see just a lot of random tournaments that just popped up that have no affiliation to anybody, and you're just like, what is this tournament? Who's running this? A mom and pop tournament, in my definition, is a tournament that is new to the scene that is not connected to an organization. Little Squid League being the biggest domino yet to fall in the organization buyout that we went over the past year or so, is not a mom and pop tournament. They're established. They run a tournament every single month, whether it is a traditional tournament they do, an invitational or whatever. So that doesn't fall into a mom and pop tournament. In my mind, a mom and pop tournament, you're walking down Main Street, you see a cute little bookstore, you go in and you buy a book and you're like, this is great. I feel good that I'm here and this is cool that there's people that care enough about this bookstore to keep it up and running. I don't know if this bookstore is still going to be around next year, but I like that it's here right now and I'll support it a little bit. So that's the mom and pop tournament in my mind. They can grow to be something bigger down the road. As I'm looking at this though, and as I'm talking last week about how the tournaments that have capability and staying power and have a big following and a lot of viewership will stick around. And the other tournaments that don't have that will fade off into the night, never to be seen again. As I'm looking at this tournament, does it fit the description of what I would consider a mom and pop tournament? Yes. But this is the biggest and baddest mom and pop tournament. This is a grandma and a granddad tournament that you'll probably ever see just come out of nowhere. So what is this tournament? I looked at it. There is a Splatoon 3 Discord that I didn't know existed. I believe it just goes by Splatcord. And if you look at it, it has over 50,000 members in this Discord server. 50,000! It is a monstrous Discord server. And quite honestly, I probably was in this a long time ago and then left it because when I joined back, all the channels were still kind of muted. I mute like every single channel that I go to, every single Discord server that I join, just so I don't get pinged constantly. But this seems to be just the generic Discord server for Splatoon stuff. And it's got over 50,000 people in it. So that kind of gave me the answer I was looking for. I looked in the announcements and I saw, hey, here's this tournament we're going to do. It's going to be fun. Sign up for it. And that's how you get 134 teams to sign up for it. So to answer the question of who makes up the Octo Fatherless, the Dank Bros gang, and Chicken Sandwich, it seems as though, at least in my estimation, these are all mostly casuals playing in this event, which is great. We love it when people are trying out competitive stuff for the first time. However, since they're casuals, it is something I do want to point out here. If you got rated from Squid School and for some reason you're still sticking around, this is a competitive Splatoon podcast. This is not a podcast that is catered towards the casual crowd. That's not to say that if you're casual, you can't listen to this podcast and not get something out of it, but it's not really my target audience. I'm not speaking in ways that a casual who does not understand, like there's still some understanding that you at least know what's going on here when I'm talking about things on the podcast. There's some some homework you need to do to catch up to some of the things I'm saying. Not saying casuals are dumb, but I'm assuming you're a little bit out of touch with the rest of the things that are going on in the competitive scene. But if I wanted to get more views, if I wanted to just blow up my YouTube channel, I would change my target audience. I would not cater towards specifically the competitive crowd. I would go after the casuals. Why? I've said this so many times. The amount of people, of everybody that's bought the game, 0.1%, maybe 0.001% actually play this game competitively. The other 99.99 are just playing the game for fun. Crazy concept, I know. But there's so many people that have the game that just don't either have no interest in doing things competitively, or what I'm convinced is don't know that competitive is even an option. So when they see a tournament like this being promoted in this massive server, pinging at everyone to sign up for it, I think that's how you get a bunch of people playing in their first tournament ever. And it creates some great, interesting things there. Now, the team that won this tournament is anything but a casual. In fact, grand finals was Jackpot, who I guess there was a prize for this event. I didn't see what the prize was. Discord said it was just like an art prize or something. I'm assuming there's some sort of cash prize because Jackpot wouldn't be there if there wasn't something on the line. They played Cookies and Cream in grand finals, and Legato got third place, beating Ya Mum in fourth place. And then you look at the bracket right below it, and it's the Territorial Water Otters finishing that. And it's like, whoa, how did we go from Jackpot to TWO? There's quite a strange gap between that and how we got there. But that just kind of shows the last teams that kind of looked at this and was like, oh, wait a minute. This is a tournament we can win, and there's some sort of prize here, so we're going to slip in here and do that. Let's not talk about Jackpot and Ya Mum and Legato and Cookies and Cream, because that's not the point of this tournament. I mean, it's an open tournament. They're allowed to play in it, but that's not the point. That's not what we're trying to get out of this tournament right here. Instead, I want to point out this. Whenever we have a tournament that has a massive amount of teams, us, the competitive scene, we're greedy, we're selfish, we only think about ourselves. The one thing we're thinking of is, they got 134 teams? How can we get those teams? We're like going to bombard them and be like, hey, you guys want to join this tournament? Hey, you guys want to watch this stream? Hey, do you guys want to join our Discord server? Like, we're seeing this as like fresh meat that we can just go out and absorb and bring them into the competitive scene. There's a couple things I want to point out about that. First off, you don't want these teams playing in your tournaments. You don't. You do not want these teams playing in other tournaments. Just because a tournament has a massive amount of teams doesn't mean it's a better tournament. This is my mindset with Proving Grounds. I got some feedback from Proving Grounds saying, you guys should try to get more teams. I'm sitting here thinking, no, I don't want more teams in Proving Grounds. I just want smaller teams that are all really high skill level, so that they can fight against each other and we can just cut the crap. That's why when we got so many teams, we switched to that very super fast Swiss round to knock out all the low ink teams, and so we can get to the matches we actually care about faster in the single limb top cut best of 5 bracket. If Squid Junction were to gain like half of these teams and mix them in with the teams that usually play in Squid Junction, all of a sudden you got a 100-team tournament where like 80 of the teams cannot hold a candle to the other 20. What's the point? You're just dragging out a tournament even longer, diluting the whole thing, creating a lot of other matches that are just quick 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, and falling asleep. So just because there's a bunch of teams playing in one tournament doesn't mean you want that trickle-down effect to jump into other tournaments. Look at Low Ink, 170 teams. It's not that fun. It's not that fun having a tournament that big. Quality over quantity. The other thing you want to keep in mind is this. Why are all of these quote-unquote casuals playing in this tournament, but not other tournaments? There's a reason for that. I don't think it's because they don't know those tournaments exist, which a good chunk of them will play in Low Ink for the first time. They'll find out about it through this tournament, and they'll get that first experience in a skill cap tournament. They will. But most of them are signing up for this tournament for one specific reason. None of you idiots in chat are playing in it. They don't want to play against you. It's not fun. Getting curb stomped by competitive players is not fun. They recognize that. And you guys can be all Captain Hardasses as you want. Oh, the only way to get better is to get beat by people that are stronger than you. No, they don't want to do that. That's not fun. As a competitive Splatoon player, it's not fun for me to play against them. It's not fun for them to play against me. But as somebody, if I were to go and play sand volleyball, I want to play sand volleyball against people around my skill level, slightly below me or slightly above me. I don't want to go off and face the United States women's volleyball team. That's not going to be fun at all. I wouldn't sign up for that. It makes sense. So when you create an environment like this, yeah, of course they're going to sign up for this tournament, but don't expect them to sign up in other things. It's not that they don't know. It's because they don't want to. It's not catered to them. It's not going to be fun. However, here is the biggest takeaway from this tournament. And this is the big deal. And this is what all TOs should be focusing on, in my opinion, in tournaments going forward. The value here is viewership. This tournament was run on was streamed on Elemental's Twitch channel. And here are the views. I didn't see what the max, the peak was, or the average, or anything like that. The only thing I saw is looking at the VOD right now and seeing the amount of views that it has. Now, full disclosure, I have no idea what a view on a Twitch VOD is. It's like some sort of jank combination of who watched it live and who goes back and watched it later. And it doesn't seem to make any sense. I don't understand it. But what I do understand is when one number is significantly bigger than other numbers. The biggest tournament still up on IPL's page that has the most views right now is the last Proving Grounds tournament. It has 2.8 thousand views. The biggest viewership on Dapple Productions page as of right now is one of those past, I think it's the paddling pool tournament from 2 weeks ago. That has 2.2 thousand views on it. The amount of views already on this tournament alone is 5.2 thousand. It has more views than the best IPL tournament and the best Dapple Productions tournament on their pages right now combined. This tournament blew both of them out of the water, and it's not even close. A tournament that was a complete curb stomp. The team that won the tournament probably didn't even break a sweat all the way through, but more people watched this tournament than would watch anything else. Even if you want to include, Keo's streaming his point of view in this tournament, that adds to the viewership numbers. Even if you want to include that kind of math, it still gets beat by this. Holy cow. And that's the product that it needs to be sold here. Yes, casuals aren't going to be interested in playing in other tournaments, but what they might be interested in is watching things like that. There is an audience for competitive Splatoon, and this is where viewership needs to take a step up, because we're excited that Big House got 1K peak viewership. 20XX got 1K peak viewership. Low Ink got 650 peak viewership, average of 350. Like, we're excited about those kinds of numbers, but we got people in this community like Spoon that are saying, when Splatoon 1 came out, those numbers were way higher than that. Like, we should be expecting more than what we've already get. Yeah, it's exciting that things are growing, but we should be expecting these numbers to go even higher than what they are right now. And as you're looking at these tournaments, you're like, Elemental figured it out. Elemental's got a great viewership tournament right here. And if we can find ways to get more audience involved in other tournaments, all of a sudden we got that higher viewership that we're looking for. And that draws in a lot of very nice things that we're all kind of looking for out of this tournament. So a lot of potential for our viewership across the board to go higher here. And the proof is in the pudding yet again, like the Reddit showed us at the beginning of the year and the Splatcord server showed us at the end of this year. The casual crowd is hungry for competitive Splatoon. Maybe not playing in it, but maybe watching it. And maybe we just need to do a better job of catering not the tournament itself, but the product, the consumable product, to the people who would be watching this tournament, which would be the casual crowd. Congratulations, Elemental and the rest of the Splatcord staff for a successful tournament. And we'll see what comes out of that in the future. With that being said, perfect 1 hour length of a episode today. Perfect. If you'd like to be part of the Popcast in any way, feel free to reach out to socials below. Twitter, Mr_Popgun, Discord, Popgun, hashtag 5882, YouTube at 25 Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25, anchor.fm/Popgun, TikTok, Mr_Popgun. Next week, tentatively, we are getting Squid School in here to talk about Squid's cool stuff and try to get Jim's opinion on some other things as well. It's tentative, but you people requested it, and I wanted it as well, so we went out and we're trying to set that up. We'll also talk about some, I guess it's Low Ink Week. We won't do a preview until next Friday, but stick around for that. Thank you for the raid, Squid School. Thank you for all the people that followed. I had to mute the desktop audio so it wouldn't show up in the VOD constantly, but thank you for the continued support across the board. Stay safe, get vaccinated, go out and vote tomorrow. Don't do anything stupid between now and the next episode of the Popcast. And hey, sign up for Proving Grounds. Or at least watch it. That's the point, right? Go watch Proving Grounds. Don't sign up for it.